Good morning, world. My name is Miles Bassett, and this is Ask Wildman. Hello once again. My name is Miles Bassett. I'm the CEO and founder here at Wildman Web Solutions. We're producing this open Q&A called Ask Wildman answer your questions. Wow, this is starting off well. To answer your questions about technology, business, marketing, advertising, design, whatever else you want to ask us about. We are a full service digital agency. So me and my team are here to answer your questions about anything and everything that we offer. Or if you just want to jump in and ask us about your day, you are more than welcome to do so. Here we've got our first example, Jeff jumping in. Hello, Jeff. Please follow his lead and throw your questions in the comments. Or if you're watching this later, you're not catching us live, you can email us your questions at askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we will try to get those questions either in this episode or next week on this show, as we do this every week, Wednesdays at 11 a.m., live streaming to our Facebook, YouTube, and now Twitch channel. We also have all of these episodes on our website. If you haven't checked it out already, our website is wildmanweb.com. You can come over here and under the resources tab, we do have our live stream archives. So you can check out all of our previous live streams over the last couple of weeks. If we said anything brilliant, say 6 weeks ago, you can jump in here and see what we said. And as we get going through all of this, we are also uploading the entire transcript of all of our shows. So here you can jump in and see exactly what we said. We'll try to put in links and everything. So we do this as a resource to you. And this is just another step that we take. In addition to that, under our resources, we do have some really awesome stuff for you. All of this is free and available to everyone. We've got our blog here, where we put up articles very regularly. We'll see a couple of articles a week coming up here with some great resources. Here's one that I wrote based on a conversation we had here on this show about website hosting for small businesses. So here you can read through all the different types of hosting that I talked about, different hosting features you want to be looking for, all the verbiage so you know what to look for. We've got some warnings to look out for, and finally, just helping you to make some decisions on hosting for your website. We've got tips on Instagram. We've got updates. Here's Google My Business. It's just rolling out a new feature, and we've got another new feature, I think, coming out here in a little bit. But we keep you up to date on all of that. So please check out our website at wildmanweb.com for all of these awesome resources. Now on with the show. All right, to help me answer your questions, I'm going to be bringing in my partner in crime, Mr. Mike Hanna.
I didn't do it, Miles.
Here he is. There we are. Hello, Mike.
Hello. How in the heck are you doing today, sir?
Doing good. And on that note, that is actually why we do this show. It's just an alibi. It's just an alibi. That's the entire reason we're on here 100%. Live.
The time code never lies. That is true.
Yeah. All right. So we are here live on our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So pick your poison there, and then throw your questions in the comments below, and we'll try to get to those kind of as they come up. And again, if you are seeing this later, you can email us your questions at askwildman@wildmanweb.com. If you need that written, I do have that scrolling below us here in this little crawler. So grab that, email us, and we'll get to you next week, Wednesday at 11. But make sure to tune in live. It's more fun live.
Lots more fun.
Okay, so we got a couple of points to hit over from last week, I believe. Where was I with this? I pulled up the website to share with everyone and completely lost my notes. So that's what I get here for providing resources.
You have notes? You're more prepared than I am.
I try to. Easier said than done. Well, it looks like, we're starting off the show well. We're getting a call on the business line, so I think Mike is going to take that. All right, I'm going to pull this screen off here while he takes that call. Again, we're here to answer your questions, so please take a little bit and throw your questions in the comments below, and we will hit those. So while Mike is taking that call here, I want to talk a little bit about this morning. As I've mentioned several times on this show, I'm coming right off of 1 Million Cups Lawrence. It's an awesome organization, which I have the honor of being an organizer for, where entrepreneurs and business owners from a local community all get together to listen to a presentation from a local business owner. It's not a pitch meeting or anything. It's people coming up there talking about their business, usually new businesses, presenting that to a room full of entrepreneurs and business owners, and getting some questions from them, getting some input from them. So we get to see some really interesting presentations, get to know a lot of really good people. It's an awesome group of people that comes in there all the time. So if you are a local business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're thinking about starting a business, come check us out, 1 Million Cups Lawrence. But if you're outside of Lawrence, see if your city has one. I know Wichita has one, Kansas City has one, Topeka has one. I've been to all of those, but it's present in over 180 cities around the country. So even if you are nowhere near local here, check in, see if your city has one. But right now, a lot of them are actually doing virtual. So you can hop around and jump into Des Moines 1 Million Cups, or one up north, or something. I've gone to Manhattan's 1 Million Cups a couple of times, so you can jump in there and check that out. Okay, looks like we might have gotten a mic back.
Yes,
here we go. Hello.
Yes. Sorry,
just a little
about
plug
that, y'all.
for 1 Million Cups this morning while you take that call.
No problem. That was our good friends over at the Chamber of Commerce, so we'll give them a plug. Always great to hear from the Chamber on a
it's another good
Wednesday
resource.
morning.
This is one of the things I really love about the Lawrence community here. The Lawrence business community is so awesome. There's so many different variations of it, so many different little groups. 1 Million Cups is an awesome one. The Chamber, if you're not part of the Lawrence Chamber, they have tons of events and resources and lots of helpful things there. They've got the SBDC in there in the Chamber office. We couldn't have started up our business and had that as smooth as it was without their help. We've also got the Lawrence Young Professionals who are meeting up this afternoon, I believe at 4. I want to check and see where that is. I want to say they're at the Big Mill.
I believe it's a place over at 9. Yes, I believe that's correct.
They take young pretty loosely there. So if you are a quote unquote young professional, or if you're just a local business owner, or if you just want to hang out with some peers, then I think we've got Tiffany Hall from the Chamber speaking a little bit about chambership membership there. And then someone was going to talk about the Leadership Lawrence program this afternoon. So
very cool.
Stop by Big Mill. I think it's at 4 p.m. today. I'll have to check on that and make sure. But this is just such an awesome local business community, and there's so many great things out there, and we're doing our part to try to contribute and put out some really good content and answer some questions. Jeff points out that 1 Million Cups is founded by the Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City, so it is a relatively local organization that's expanded out nationwide. No, Kansas City business community, equally awesome. Hello, Kansas City friends. All right, so we've got a couple of things that we wanted to go over today. Primarily, Mike, I know you had one, a little bit of a passion project you've been working on for the last couple of weeks, building out what we're calling our 7-step marketing plan. If you don't follow us on social media, I don't know how you're watching this right now, but you should, as we just posted something, I think yesterday about it, a nice little infographic that kind of goes through our new 7-step marketing plan. This is not only a service that we're providing, but also just a really cool model that I think that we can throw out there and maybe answer some questions about something that not enough business owners really do, I think. They know that they need to advertise, so they go out and they buy some Facebook ads, or they buy a billboard, or they put something up in the Lawrence Journal World, or whatever it is. But marketing is a little bit different from just throwing an ad out there and saying, come buy my stuff. And even those who really do understand marketing in depth, I feel like too many people don't take that step back and really craft an in-depth marketing plan, which is what this is for. This is all for that plan. And you're not going to be nearly as effective in your actions or in any of your efforts if you don't start off with a rock solid plan. So Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about your 7-step marketing plan?
Sure thing, Miles. Yeah, let's get into it. Yes, this is certainly something that we come across as a need and a question many times throughout the course of the weeks with clients. Of course, before anybody wants to start advertising, wants to start spending money, we always put a plan together for them, or recommend that they put a plan together for them if they're just using us for strategy, maybe, and not the execution part. But that's kind of a vague term, and so a marketing plan could be anywhere from a few pages long to a novel, depending on the scope of the campaign and the business and all sorts of other factors. And so what I've done to just kind of make it easy to, to put a model in place, so to speak, as you're building out a customizable marketing plan, because there are no one size fits all solutions. Everything has to be customizable, but whether you're doing a 2-page marketing plan or a 20-page marketing plan, if you have these 6 elements in it, or 6 steps, for lack of a better term, you're going to be on the right path no matter what you're doing or what kind of category you're working with. So we're going to take these one by one and just do a little deep dive into it. If you have questions, of course, if you're watching here on the stream, put them right down there below. We'll get to those. If not, if you're watching this later, or you're watching or listening to the podcast, later on, then you send us a message. Be happy to hop on a phone call and go over this, or tell you how it specifically applies to your business. But this is something that you can also implement in your business yourself. You don't have to hire somebody to do this. Depending on your situation, you may want to or should do that, but it's certainly not a requirement. And if you're a marketer out there and you've got clients and you're looking for an easy way to put together a successful marketing plan, well, take this and run with it as well. We're here to help everybody and try to stop marketing malpractice wherever it may be served. Okay, so let's get into
caring.
Sharing is caring.
I learned that in kindergarten.
Cheers to that. Okay, so let's get into it. The first thing you need to do is you need to just take it from 30,000 feet, and you need to create a strategic summary. So in a couple paragraphs, is really all you need here. What is it that we're trying to do? What is our end goal? And what are some of the key steps that we think are going to be helpful on this goal? What are the pillars of this project, so to speak? So all that needs to be clearly explained in the first area, the strategic summary. The second part is when we do a deep dive into your products and your goals. And so if you're a service-based industry, you can, swap out products for services. They're pretty interchangeable here with what we're talking about. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a deep dive on each one of your products and services, and we're going to figure out exactly who is that intended to, what do we want them to do with it, and most importantly, what is the value that the end user is going to be able to get out of that? What problem is that going to solve? And what are our goals attached to these products or these services? Who do we want them to reach? How many of them do we want to sell? What is the lifetime value of a customer? And all of those kinds of things. What is my margin? What is going to be a good cost of acquisition? Those are all things that we're going to input and we're going to study in this second process when we're doing a deep dive on the products or services, and then attaching goals for what we want to achieve with those products and services. The third thing is probably my favorite, and that's the situational analysis. And so here's what we do is we take the products and services, and we take what your strategic goal is that you want to achieve with those products and services, and then we basically figure out how realistic is this compared to what the market thinks and what the market wants, right? Because we can have all the best laid plans in the world and the best ideas and this and that, but if it doesn't reflect the actual true intentions of the market and what the market wants and needs, it's probably going to fail. And we'd rather figure that out now than $20 or $30 or $40,000 down the road, right? So we take a whole lot of care in this stage to do research, to do data analysis, and to really figure out what is happening in your marketplace, and are your goals realistic? What are your competitors doing? What are your marketing bridge issues? Or what are your marketing bridge strengths? And this is also when we really do a deep dive into your USP. So everybody write that down, unless you're driving. Don't do that. USP, though, your unique selling proposition, is what USP stands for. And this is a very, very important thing that we want to highlight here in this third step. And we want to figure out, where in the marketplace do you have a strategic advantage? Where do you sit in the marketplace that you can take advantage of a situation? And that's what we want to exploit, obviously. And that's where we're going to put our dollars and our efforts and our attention into moving that needle. And so that's, in a nutshell, there's a lot that goes into step 3, but that's in a nutshell what we do in step 3. So step 4 is the segmentation of your audience. And this is also a really important step, because we have to understand exactly who we are talking to, exactly who our audience is. And of course, as we talk about all the time on the show here, we have to reverse engineer what the audience wants. What is the problem that the audience has that we can solve? And what we want to do here is we want to figure out exactly what all the demographics of this core audience are. And for you, it could be you have one core audience. You could have 6 or 7 different core audiences that are attached to different products and services, going back to the second step. And so here's where we want to segment all of that stuff out. We want to align it. And then we want to create marketing messages that are contextualized to each one of those audiences. So if I have 7 different audiences and I'm selling, 5 different products to those audiences, I'm not going to say the same thing all the time, right? I'm not just going to say, I exist, I've been here since 1947, buy my stuff, right? I want to take a little bit more care and craft, and I want to talk to each one of those individual audiences as contextually as I possibly can about their unique problem and my unique selling position of how to solve that problem. And so that's what goes into step number 4, segmentation of your audience. Step number 5 is the communication strategy. So this is basically where we take who the audience is and what we want to say to them, and we put it into the proper channels, and we make sure that the copy and the creative and everything is contextualized appropriately to how we want the audience to react. And so obviously this is a very, very important stage. As we say, a lot of times we'd rather say the right thing to the wrong person than the wrong thing to the right person. So you want to really, really take a lot of time in this stage to craft your message and to make sure that it's going to be something that's going to be relevant, and it's going to be something that is going to engage the audience and bring value to the audience. And of course, we always say, value is something that is educational or informative, or entertaining, educational being the most important thing. And so that's what we always want to do when we're communicating and building out our strategy, is, again, keeping that value proposition in mind, and how are we going to deliver that through our communication to the end consumer. And then the 6th step is the action plan. And that is when we take specific steps to reach very, very specific goals. And of course, these goals have to be relevant, but they have to be relevant to the bottom line. And that's really, really important, because a lot of people, when they're crafting a marketing plan, they come up with goals that are really kind of irrelevant. Like, it really doesn't matter if I grow my Facebook page by 3,000 followers. It's not going to hurt. It's a nice to have, but that shouldn't be the main focus of my marketing campaign, right? If I'm a restaurant, the main focus of my marketing campaign should be getting 25 more covers on a Monday night, or wherever my pain points are that I need to fill spots and tables. And that is what my action plans should be tied to, is a very measurable, relevant goal that ends up being something you can measure in the bottom line, and not just statistics and clicks and views and things like that are more kind of vanity metrics. And so that's the most important thing that you can do here in the action plan stage, is really make sure that, A, we've identified what our KPIs are, our key performance indicators, and that those are tied to real metrics that are tied to our bottom line. And then step 7, we're almost done. And that's just when we do our summarization stage, and we come up with, go back through all the 6 stages, and we summarize it and we form a conclusion, and then we get out there and we start having some fun. So there it is. Like I said, no matter what kind of industry you're dealing with, or if you're doing a small campaign or you're launching a whole brand new business, if you incorporate these 7 steps into the plan, you're going to set yourself up for success. So there you go. Miles, if you have anything to add, feel free, or if there's any questions down below, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I think that was a really good summary of our 7-step marketing plan. I just want to add a little bit of sort of real world information on top of it, because as you're going through each of those steps, I'm thinking of when I'm working with someone on the back end of something. We're building out a website, we're building out an app or a custom software piece. A lot of the time we are even unknowingly developing something or building something to respond to one of those steps or to answer one of those questions. It all ties back into that plan. For example, I've got a couple of projects right now, but one in particular that I'm thinking of that really ties into step 4. And I was continually talking to them about audience segmentation. And this was before we had even completely finalized this and all these steps here, but it completely ties into that step 4 of segmentation of audience. They have a fairly complicated business where a lot of different types of people are coming in to utilize different services. Say I think they had like 6 main services that they put out to people, and the person who would best utilize each of those services is a completely different person. There's no demographic overlap between all of these different products or services that they're offering. And so their broader messaging can be very difficult. And so when we're building something like a website, like we are for this organization, it can be a little bit difficult to cater to all of those very different personalities, these different types of people. Mm-hmm. And so in the initial design stage, I had them go back and say, forget everything that you know about your business. Don't look at your current website. We're going to start from scratch here. Think about the people, your audience, the customers that are walking in the door, and organize those into a couple of different buckets. Think about the commonalities and the differences between these people that are walking through the door. Are these more, is this a direct-to-consumer type of thing? Is this a business kind of thing? Is this a young person, an old person? Where are we at? And what kind of demographics are we looking at in these different audiences? And then come back to me with those different, audience segmentations is the proper verb for it. I was saying buckets. Bring me those buckets of people. Mm-hmm. And then we will build the website around that. We will design it so that if we get anyone coming from any of those audiences, it will be a nice landing page that looks pretty and it's like where they want to be. And then very quickly we're going to separate those people and we're going to organize them out. We're going to filter them out into the section of the website that they want to be, that is going to be more applicable to them and what they want to do and how they engage with your business. Because these different individuals, these different characters or avatars or whatever you want to call these people, are going to interact very differently with your business based on where they're coming from and what service they're looking for. And we can cater our messaging, or in this case, the website, to those audience segmentations. So that's just a real world application of something that I was just doing with a client last week that ties directly into one of the steps here. But any one of these steps can apply to something executable that you are either something that you are doing or something that you should be doing in your overall marketing, messaging, online presence, or real world presence in your business. So I just wanted to throw in that kind of real world action to your high level explanation of this marketing plan.
Yeah, that's a great point, Miles. And I'll just throw one other tidbit in there. Even if you do only have a single audience, let's say I only sell to women 35 to 40, and that's it. Well, you should still segment your audience, because all those people in that audience, that those women 35 to 40 are in different stages of the buying funnel too. Right. So, you got people at the top, the middle, and the bottom, right? And so you don't want to say something to somebody at the bottom of the funnel with a top of the funnel type of message and vice versa. And so this also applies to people who just have one singular demographic, and that's all they sell to as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can segment out your audience and communicate to them properly, which is why, the very next step of this plan is a communication strategy. You have to and once you have those different sections,
Yep.
you've looked at your different demographic sections, you looked at where they are in the buying funnel, all these different variations that you have within your audience, you then have to create some sort of strategy to communicate with these people. And it's going to be very different depending on if you're talking to a 45-year-old woman versus talking to a 20-year-old woman. If you're talking to someone who is just barely aware of your business or someone who's been considering you for a long time. Maybe they're a repeat customer. That's going to be very different messaging to those different kinds of people. Like I was actually talking with a guy this morning, Sir Jerry Wang, I think is his name, of Dryden Watches. It's a watch company out of Kansas City. And he was having a really hard time kind of breaking out of his bubble and was wanting to get out into different market to younger people who are all there with their smartwatches. How do I get them to buy a traditional high quality watch? These people don't really know anything about it. We were talking about changing up his content play and doing more education of what do you need to know about a watch? Why would I want a high quality watch versus the cheap one I get at Walmart? What's the difference between the battery powered ones versus the ones that are the non-battery powered ones that are just mechanical? Why would someone want to buy something higher dollar? And why is this more important to get this rather than your iPhone that has the time on it, or your smartwatch that also has the time on it? What is the unique selling proposition for something like this? And so in that conversation that we had very quickly this morning, we hit like over half of this marketing plan, or at least scraped the surface of half of the steps in this marketing plan.
That's why those are the steps, because those are the ones that always come up that you always need no matter what you're doing. And, I think, if you can have one big takeaway from what you want to get out of this plan is a really clear focus of what my value is. What is my value that I bring to the end consumer? And that has got to be the number one thing. And just, if you always focus on that, you'll end up in really good places. And people get sidetracked. They don't understand the psychology of buying. Value is 100% what people buy. Nobody cares about price. And we always get caught up on price, right? Nobody cares. If you go to the doctor tomorrow and he's like, you're about to die, but if I give you this surgery, you're going to be okay and you're going to be like walking out of here in 24 hours, are you going to ask him how much it costs? Right? It's all a reflection of value. And so always focus on that and always be bringing that to your end consumer. And you're going to start getting a lot better results from your marketing.
Marketing tips and a statement on modern healthcare from Mike Hanna. That is multi-leveled analysis.
Let's not
there.
Get started on that. Yeah.
Well, you do make a good point there. It's not necessarily about the price, and it's not necessarily about these very simple factors, these surface level factors. You talked about sort of the vanity metrics. It's not necessary for you to get 3,000 followers on your Facebook page. It's nice, and it's not necessarily going to hurt, but that shouldn't be your primary goal. Just like price shouldn't be your primary focus when presenting the value of your product, your service, your business. And that's what having an actual strategy here is really going to help out with. I think too many people just fly in without a plan and they just start throwing stuff out there. Really sitting down, doing a little bit of research, understanding what the market is doing around you, thinking about your audience, thinking about how you communicate with them, and then putting together a real action plan on getting that message out to those people in the right way at the right time. That's priceless.
100%, Miles.
So yeah, we did just post this on our social media yesterday. So check it out. There's a little graphic there showing you what all it is. I think I just shared it earlier today. So yeah, check that out. And then, like Mike said, if you have any questions on it or your specifics or how this would apply to you and your business specifically, just send us a message, send us a DM, or email us, askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we'll try to answer those questions. Either just, we'll respond to your email there, or we'll hit you next week on this show, as we do this every Wednesday live at 11 a.m., streaming to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch channels.
Yes. Well, should we get into some news here, Miles? If we don't have any questions popping up down there, and then I think Jeff and Jeff's still in this stream. Him and I got to talk some golf before the hour's out, so we should keep this moving.
Yeah, we got a couple people on this. I think Jeff is one of them. I can't really.
Okay.
I can only see total numbers per platform. I can't see who it is right now. So, Jeff, if you're one of those Facebook people, then
you get ready for your PGA Championship pick, Jeff. Okay. All right. Well, should we get into the news, or do we have any questions we need to get to first here?
Go for it. News desk it is.
Okay. Let's hop into the news. Well, we talked about Elon at the very end of the news last week, and I said, gee, yeah, not much happened after Elon was on SNL, and then, oh, what a difference the week makes. Elon's been pulling all kinds of levers. We won't get into the crypto news, but let's just say
it needed the combination of Elon doing something and then Mike Hanna saying something about it. The universe just had to prove you wrong.
Yeah, and now the crypto market's down 18% this morning. But we're not going to get into that. Okay. Let's talk about content marketing, one of our favorite topics here on the show, and big believers in it. Always giving some love to Joe Politsky and contentmarketinginc.com. And so make sure you're going over there and checking out all those free resources there. But in the news, a couple of big brands jumping into the content marketing space, and actually one that's not, I wouldn't say jumping into it, but maybe just jumping into another platform. One that's been in the content marketing space for a long time, and that is, of course, Mountain Dew, the beverage soft drink company. They've been doing, they've sponsored like the X Games and things like that for a long time.
They're arguably an early adopter of this kind of marketing strategy.
They are, yes. And guess what they're adopting now? Our old friend audio, yes.
Oh boy! Yes, of course we're going there. Of course, Mike is going the audio route.
Yes, we love voice over here, and so
have that on their Ask Wildman bingo. I feel like that should just be the free square in the middle. Mike talks about Clubhouse.
Yeah, no, I didn't say the C word. I just said voice. I'm actually not. This is not Clubhouse related. No, they're launching a podcast all about professional basketball and the players' origin stories.
Cool.
So kind of a little interesting twist there. And they're going to do players from the NBA and the WNBA. And they're launching it as a podcast, jumping into the audio space. But yeah, they've been doing, like I said, events and extreme videos and stuff like that for a really, really long time, as well as, some product placement and traditional call to action branding, and some of the more traditional tactics as well. But as you're right, Miles, a big adopter of content marketing early on was Mountain Dew. And then another one who, as far as I can tell, this is their first time doing content marketing, and that is L'Oreal, the makeup line, one of the largest, if not the largest makeup line in the world. Not just makeup, I think beauty products in general. Miles, I'm going to have to plead ignorance. I'm not familiar with a lot of their products, but they have launched a hair show, a 7-episode online video series about the cultural impact of hairdressing. And so they are also jumping in. It's going to be on YouTube, and it's going to run for 30 to 45 minutes per episode, available in 6 different languages. And this is certainly a shift from their traditional marketing ads in the past. I mean, they're probably a brand that until recently has still been spending a gobs of money on magazines and print and things like that. We think about, God, who's still spending that money? It's brands like L'Oreal until now. And they're obviously shifting into doing more content-based marketing. So good for them. And then jumping out of the content world, Miles, but into something we've been talking about a whole lot well, I guess not out of the content world, but a little bit different type of a play here. And that is first party data being leveraged by big companies to open up their audience to the product lines that they sell inside their stores. And we've talked about this. We've had several examples of this over the last few months from really, really large retailers that we all grew up, heritage brands like Macy's and people like that. And the latest to jump into this game is Walgreens. And so Walgreens has announced that they will now offer brands the ability to reach customers via over-the-top services, which of course is OTT, and connected TV, which is CTV, and traditional linear television across 100 apps and 10 supply-side platforms with an inventory of 2.5 billion daily impressions. And, this is, of course, part of a larger trend that we've been talking about really since, I don't know, fourth quarter last year at least. And that is, the whole digital marketing space has changed and has continued to change, and it's moving from a third-party data primarily model, where we were basically leveraging third-party data in order to reach people that were interested in our products, and in order to remarket and retarget to people that were interested in our products. And now it is a first-party, or sometimes even a zero-party data world. And so that is what all these brands are jumping into. They're leveraging their databases, which is something that we've been telling all of our small business clients and everyone who listens to us since the dawn of time, is that you need to also be building up your own database on platforms that you control, and so that you can market to those people as you see fit, and not be at the behest and the whim of big media giants that can change their platform, and do change their platform routinely whenever they feel like it. So hopefully you've been heeding that advice, and you also have a big stash of first-party data that you're going to be able to leverage. But some things that are getting more applicable to small and medium-sized businesses are the streaming services and OTT, and inserting your commercials and your content into those spaces is becoming affordable and accessible even for the smallest businesses, Miles. And I'll also throw in platforms like Spotify. It's getting easier and cheaper these days to insert, going back to audio, to insert your audio branding, your sonic branding into platforms like Spotify. And you can do that on a local level where people in your area will be able to hear that stuff, and you can talk to them, directly into their ear. So that's also a really powerful tool. And then, of course, don't forget, that was mentioned in that story as well, YouTube, going back to the L'Oreal. And, YouTube ads right now are just absolutely crushing it based on remarketing and search terms that people are searching for on Google. So, man, don't sleep on that, especially if you have anything call to action related, direct response marketing related. Definitely don't skip out on that. So that's really all I had from the news desk, Miles. Kind of a light news week. I'm sure things will pop up. We'll have some craziness happen before too long again, though. But that's all I got.
I just want to add in sort of news, sort of update, a little bit touching on one of those stories. We talk about gathering first-party data all the time, how a lot of different apps and softwares and everything are kind of shutting down what have become the traditional ways of gathering user data. It's becoming more and more important to get that zero first-party data from people so that you can market them directly, and pulling all that traffic, all that attention back to something that you own 100%. Mm-hmm. And probably one of the biggest updates that exemplifies this trend is that iOS update. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, 14.5 update. Well, it came out, it happened. We're starting to get the numbers in. There's starting to get some meta studies, both here in the US and internationally, to figure out how many people actually opted in. So to review real quick before we get to that, just reviewing real quick what it actually is, the update that they released, 14.5. basically asked you to opt in to sharing your data to third-party apps for marketing reasons, rather than previously it'd been pretty much the same thing. It was just hidden in the back, and you had to explicitly opt out. So the default was putting your information out there. Now, the default is keeping your information to yourself, and you have to opt in to sharing your information. And no one really knew how many people were actually going to do it. Most people guessed that, if you ask someone, hey, do you want to share your information with people to advertise to you? Most likely people are going to say, hell no. We talked about some particular or potential advantages to doing that, in that if you are sharing your information, then you're going to get more relevant ad experiences. You're going to get advertisements for things that you may actually want, may be interested in getting, instead of just random stuff that have nothing to do with you. For all those businesses out there that haven't listened to our advice here and are still trying to utilize this data that they now have no access to. But yeah, Mike, as you were alluding to there, the numbers are coming in and they are not good. Everyone is opting out. And I don't mean everyone as in the colloquial everyone. I mean the percent of people opting in the United States, depending on the study you're looking at. I mean, I'm looking at one here that says 2%. That's the very low end here. The average is probably laying somewhere around the 5% mark. But yep. Yeah, we're talking about 90+% of people opting out, and all of that information is now gone.
Yeah, it's 100%, Miles. Now Facebook is they're countering some of this, and Google is to a lesser extent, but yeah, it's certainly a huge shift. But
even
also,
if it were half, that's half of your audience, half of the data that you were used to getting in some of these things. So that's a big shift, and if you're not taking that into account in your marketing strategy, then that's going to cause some problems.
Right. Yeah. There's certainly some things that people need to work around. There's also, as we talked about before, big opportunities with this. Yeah. And Facebook is still crushing it. Facebook is still getting really, really good results if you're taking the proper steps and the proper precautions and everything.
Right. It's not like Facebook ads are useless now. You just have to be a little bit smarter about it and be aware that this is happening. For those 100%. People out there who aren't aware that this is happening, that's where the real problem is.
100%. Yeah. And you're absolutely right that there's more people are opted in than most any of the estimates that I saw. And so it's going to be a really big thing. But here's the good news is, yeah, you can still get results with Facebook. You just got to work smarter, not harder. Use things like call tracking, form tracking, use videos for your retargeting. You can use opt-in forms. You can, still a lot of those type of tactics are going to work. Traffic ads will still be pretty good. It's going to be most of the conversion-based stuff that's going to get affected. But, here's some more good news is that email marketing is still crushing it, right? Like text message marketing is crushing it. We just talked about YouTube, and so that doesn't mean that if Facebook has been your bread and butter, it doesn't mean you have to leave Facebook, but it also just means that you have great options out there. And so it's not like Facebook has a gun to your head and that they're the only play in town. We have some great other options out there, and maybe depending on what type of business you're running, what type of campaign you're running, maybe a bit better options than Facebook or traditional Google ads that were relying heavily on third-party data work. So lots of opportunities still out there, Miles.
Regardless, that sort of soft strategy that we were talking about of collecting user information yourself is still going to be immensely important moving forward, because I don't think that this is, I had said this before on this show here, I think that this trend is not reversing. With the updates that Facebook is making, Google is making, Apple is making, all the big tech players and a lot of the smaller ones as well are moving towards this privacy-centric view, which I don't think is the wrong direction. But it does mean that we have to change our marketing strategy a little bit here, and that we can't just feed off of this infinite pool of data about everyone. So, we talk about this all the time and trying to take your audience and pulling them off onto something that you own 100%. lists of phone numbers so you can do text message marketing, lists of emails so that you can do email marketing. Those are things that you own 100%, whether Facebook decides completely upend its platform tomorrow or go back to how it was before, you still have that user information, and you can use that however you want. If you're pulling people back to your own website, you control your website 100%. And so that just opens up a whole plethora of opportunities there for effectively marketing to your audience. So we're going to keep harping on that one. That lesson is not going anywhere anytime soon. Collect that first party data and try to pull your audience back to something that you own.
Yeah,
build your property on land that you own, not rented land.
Yeah, it's all about creating that ecosystem and getting somebody to jump into your ecosystem, because that's kind of the rub right now, is that we talk about attention all the time, and that it's the most important thing, and it's the hardest thing to get. But once you get somebody's attention, and once you get them to know, like, and trust you, there are so many tools right now to keep them engaged and to keep them, in that kind of sphere of influence, or that ecosystem, for lack of a better term, that you can create. And now, like a mobile app is a perfect example of this, and one that we talk about a lot, but probably not often enough. If you can get somebody to download a mobile app, you're right there on their phone. They're never going to go back to Google unless you piss them off and search the category again, right? It's going to take more time for them to do that than it is to push the button, open up the app, and engage and get whatever products and services they need. And now you can, with remote ordering and everything that you can do with e-commerce, you don't even need to have them in a physical store or anything like that. They can be on the side of a mountain, and you can get them to engage. You send them a text message push notification or whatever it is, a push notification through your app, and get them to engage back in with you and buy something right then and there. And that's amazing. But none of that happens until you're able to, I think I gave the Mary Poppins jumping in the Mary Poppins chalk painting example a couple weeks ago. Once you can get them to jump into that chalk painting with you and have that experience and come into your world, it's easier than ever to keep them, as long as you have a great, you don't have a shitty marketing bridge, pardon my French, and you're not just blowing leads and blowing customers right out of the water once you get them in there. But if you're actually nurturing customers and taking care of them, it's easier than ever to turn LTV, to turn lifetime customer value up and ratchet that up and get more from your customers than you ever had before, and really, really nurture that relationship and carry it farther. And so, that's the good news in all of this, is that things are getting harder, but on the other end of the funnel, so to speak, they're getting a lot easier in a lot of ways.
Yeah, we really don't talk about that mobile app feature enough, because you're right. It really is another variation of grabbing that first party data. You don't have their phone number necessarily or their email necessarily, but your app is on their phone. And so you have their attention directly. And it's a really sticky process. I mean, people don't delete apps that frequently unless you've gotten a new phone. Look at your phone right now. I guarantee you that there's an app on there that you haven't opened in a year. It's a really sticky process, especially if that app is useful in some way. You talked about having online ordering, or if you have a points or loyalty rewards program built into the app or something like that, that really makes it a utility for them, then people are going to keep that forever. And it gives you the ability to send them those push notifications. And unless you're just really obnoxious with those push notifications, then those things are going to be seen as very valuable, and they're going to have an incredibly high open rate. Now, I do love that metaphor of jumping into the chalk drawing like Mary Poppins for two reasons. One, it does kind of exemplify that immersive experience when you're pulling someone into, hopefully, if you followed our advice here and gone through the full 7-step plan, you've got a full marketing bridge built out. You really can develop a cohesive, comprehensive, integrated marketing system there. For once someone jumps in, they're completely integrated into that system, and they're moving through it seamlessly and intuitively from wherever they are, wherever they're coming from, all coming to a singular point that is conversion, integration, some sort of connection, real connection with you and your business. And the second point is that I would like to invite everyone watching to join me in imagining Mike dancing around with Dick Van Dyke in a cartoon world surrounded by singing, dancing animals, because that is a wonderful image.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. Oh, I love Mary Poppins. Man, if I'd cut off my arm to be in that cast. But to go back for a minute, Miles, about the app point, I think you made a great point there about the utility aspect of it. I mean, imagine, here's another analogy for you. I think that the smartphone is a little bit like the modern day Swiss Army knife. And, the apps are all these tools that we have, right? And wouldn't you want your tool in somebody's Swiss Army knife, And so that's what you want to think about, the importance of getting your app into somebody's phone, is that then when they need that tool to solve a problem, it's right there. It's right there in their Swiss Army knife. It's right there in their tool chest. And they're not going to go looking to buy another tool. They're going to open up their Swiss Army knife. They're going to use the tool and they're going to go on and get it done. And so it's so important. And it's becoming really, really affordable that there's really no reason in my mind. I mean, we have a client, coffee shop, 5-10 years ago, no one would have thought a coffee shop would have their own app. Right, that was something that like big Fortune 500
or at least
companies
not
did.
Something, unless you're talking about like a Starbucks or something like that.
Right, sure. But I mean, like a mom and pop, type of a coffee shop, right? And today, even the smallest businesses can and should probably have an app to leverage that audience and to bring them into their world. It's really, really a valuable tool.
Yeah, there's a ton of great technologies out there for building truly native apps. There's hybridized app builders out there that lets you kind of do both. There's some JavaScript libraries even that are allowing other developers to come in. More developers able to work on this means that the cost of everything goes down. Lots of great technologies being invented, not to mention the advent of PWAs or progressive web apps. Yep. These are kind of a mix between a mobile website and a mobile app, but it does behave a lot like a mobile app, and even in some circumstances allows you to do things like access native technologies there. You can get to the camera or location services or send push notifications, things like that. So all of this is just making it easier and easier and easier for small businesses and smaller players in the space to get access to this immensely powerful, immensely sticky tool.
100%, Miles.
So we're coming up on the hour here. Jeff says he is ready for your PGA challenge.
Okay.
If anyone else has any questions here, sorry we didn't get to you, but you can email us at askwildman@wildmanweb.com, and we'll get to you next Wednesday as we come back here live at 11 o'clock.
Yes. All right. Well, Jeff, I can't see the comments right now, so you can go ahead and put your pick in there. But yes, folks, we got the PGA Championship coming up starting tomorrow at the Ocean Course at Kiowa Island Resort in South Carolina. Probably the hardest public course, at least in America. So it's going to be a true test. Miles, I actually got to play this course about 25 years ago. And I shot a 40 on the front nine. I thought I was amazing. I was thinking I was going to go to Q school or, maybe qualify for the Open or something. And then I got to the back nine. And let's just say I did not do very good. I think I barely got into the clubhouse under 100. It is a really, really tough course. So it's going to be fun to watch and great views of the ocean from Kiowa Island. So I like Rory. I like, of course, JT. Everybody knows I love JT. I love Spieth. He's hot right now. But I'm going to pick my guy. And everyone's going to say, oh, you're just a homer, da-da-da-da-da. But I'm picking Gary Woodland to win the PGA Championship this week for a couple of reasons. It's windy out there. Gary likes the wind, okay? And he hits that stinger. And the last time that we were at an ocean course like this was Pebble Beach. And Gary, of course, won the U.S. Open. And also a big shout out to our client, Messler Roofing and Exteriors, who right now is putting an incredible putting green in the backyard of Gary Woodland's home over here in West Lawrence. So they don't just do roofs and exteriors, folks. If you need a putting green put in your backyard, give the folks over there at Messler a call. But that is my call, and I'm putting money behind it. He's 120 to 1, and I got my money on Gary this week. Rock, chalk, Jayhawk.
All right, I'm going to pretend I knew what you were talking there. I've played disc golf, if there's any similarities there. But we do have a pick.
Beer.
There we go. That's my kind of sport there. Now we do have a pick from Jeff here. We ready? Drum roll and Xander.
All right, I like it, Jeff. It's a quality pick. It's not if, it's when he's going to win a big one. So could be his week. All right. Well, that's all I got. Great.
Yeah, let's wrap up this technology and marketing show with a little bit of sports. Why not?
Yeah. All right. Well,
we'll branch
Miles,
out.
I got to run, but I appreciate you as always, and thanks everybody for watching.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so that is it from the Wildman team this week. But we're going to be back next week, Wednesday at 11, live streaming again to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch channels. This is also being put out there as a podcast. So if you're an audio listener, please check your preferred audio place. We're out there wherever podcasts are, distributing everything. So check us out there. And finally, just go to wildmanweb.com. We've got tons of awesome resources there, as I showed you earlier in the show. Our blog, our toolkit, a podcast link is going to be up there soon. Lots of free resources we put out there to help our local community to advance themselves, leverage technology, and grow and achieve their goals. But that is it. That is it from us here at Wildman Web Solutions. We'll see you next week, Wednesdays at 11. Thanks for tuning in.